Hey everyone, good afternoon. As promised, I am going to be making up my turkey meatloaf today. I love this meatloaf because anytime I have a chance to cook something from Ina Garden, it is always my favorite. Today I am just adapting and kind of riffing off of her turkey meatloaf, but you can find hers online. It's super delicious. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, and it's just a couple of steps. The one thing that I love about doing a turkey meatloaf, there's actually a lot of things I love about doing a turkey meatloaf. One, your family will never know that it's not ground beef. My family's like, oh, it's turkey. Let me tell you something. The first few times I made this, they didn't even realize that it was turkey and not ground beef. So, to my family. No, just kidding. But turkey's a much better lean protein. It's healthier, less fat. You probably know all the wonderful things about turkey and why it's a better protein to use, certainly for something like a meatloaf when you're just throwing some things together. The other thing that I love about turkey meatloaf is that it's super easy. So I like cooking things that are super easy, that I can throw together in a really short period of time. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to prep the whole thing, but I'm not going to cook it until later. And I love dishes like that because I have a busy afternoon, and like many parents, moms, people who work, your time is precious. So you don't want to spend 2 hours in your kitchen flipping around dinner that you're going to gobble up in 20 minutes, right? So I'm just going to chop these onions up. You're going to be dicing them. Now, these onions are going to not be blended or pureed or anything like that, so you don't want huge chunks. You want to make sure that they're small. I just threw a little olive oil into the pan. You're going to heat that up. Okay, so I have about 3 pounds of turkey, ground turkey meat, and I'm going to use that to make my meatloaf. And you know, you can use 5 pounds, you can use 2 pounds, whatever it is, you just kind of adjust your ingredients so that it works. So what you're going to need today: onions, Worcestershire, chicken stock, tomato paste. That is going to be the base of this onion mixture that we're going to make. And what it's going to do is it's going to act as a really great binder for the turkey. Now, the recipe that Ina uses breadcrumbs. You can use breadcrumbs if you want, or you can use panko, which works really well. But what I started using a while ago is oats. I know, it sounds weird. It sounds like, oh, you're so healthy. It's really just, I think I'm using like a cup, 3/4 of a cup of it. It's really just to help bind that meat together so it doesn't look like ground, just like ground meat just sitting there. So it sticks together. So it really actually works. It's tasty. It holds a lot of flavor. So I actually love using the oats. And again, not trying to be deceitful to my family, but I tricked them. They had no idea there weren't breadcrumbs in it. Okay, I am pretty much done with these onions. I want to get them really, really chopped up nice so that I'm not biting into a big bite of onion. One time I made this turkey and I didn't want to use breadcrumbs, or maybe it was before I started using the oats. And what I did is I just added an entire can of tomato paste and I used an extra egg, and it seemed to work. So if you're looking to, completely eliminate the carb, the oats, the bread, the breadcrumbs, you could do something like that. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. I'm just going to pour those in there. Now my olive oil is nice and hot. I think it's actually too much onion, so I'm not going to use it all. You don't want to have an onion loaf with a little bit of turkey meat. So, I'm going to let those onions cook, and you're going to brown them. And then all you're going to do is add a bunch of tomato paste and some Worcestershire and a little chicken broth, and you're going to let that cook down. And as that's going, I'm not going to do that yet. As that's going, that's when you'll start prepping the meat. Now, back in the day, Mom, I love you so much, but nothing's like Mama's meatloaf, and thank goodness for that. Sorry, Mama, but back in the day, Mom used to make meatloaves in a bread tin, right? My good friend Lauren once told me, and if you're watching Lauren, you know who you are, she was like, no, you don't make meatloaf in a bread tin. You just make it on a sheet pan. It's actually genius. None of that kind of scooping it out and that disgusting thing. You literally just put the meat out on a sheet pan and you just let it cook like that. Now Lauren, sliced bacon and put bacon slices on top of her meatloaf. I mean, her husband just really must love her. But we ain't doing no bacon today, although I bet you that would be delicious. And I happen to have bacon in my refrigerator. I don't know. We'll see what happens. happens in the moment, but I don't think it's going to happen today. But I do put a topping on my meatloaf. There are two different toppings that I use, and it depends what you're looking for. I do one that's basically a mixture of ketchup and brown sugar. Sounds so simple. It's so delicious, but it does have sugar. So if you're sticking away from all of that brown sugar, you may not want to do it. You could do this meatloaf without a topping, just as is. Perfectly delicious. Or you can do a mixture of sriracha and ketchup, which is like so yummy. And I do a little bit more sriracha than ketchup. You basically just do like equal parts ketchup and sriracha, maybe slightly more of whichever you want to go sweeter or spicier. And then with the brown sugar, you do equal parts brown sugar and ketchup. You mix them together until the brown sugar is kind of like mixed in. It takes a few minutes, and you just spread it over the top of your loaf. It's really good, and the kids love it. And what's nice is you're gonna bake your meatloaf. When it's all set, you're gonna bake it, and that mixture with the ketchup kind of caramelizes, and it's on top of the meatloaf, and it's so good. And like my family likes to go into the tin foil and just try and like scrape off the bits of yummy goodness. Okay. Tomato paste. I could not find a can of tomato paste. I actually don't love cooking with this kind of tomato paste, but what I will say about I'll call it the toothpaste version of your tomato paste is, one, organic. I mean, is it important to have organic tomato paste? I mean, my wallet says no, but maybe. All right. But two is that it's nice, not for a dish like this because I'm using all of the tomato paste, but it's nice when you just need a little bit. So like when I'm cooking like a marinara sauce or something like that, and you just need a little bit, it's nice to have something like this, and you can just put it back in your refrigerator and you can keep it. Also, the tomato pastes like this, when you find them in the grocery store, you can find tons of stuff like this that are in the tube. Pestos, tomato pastes with basil, all sorts of different kinds of like things that will be a really good additive to any sauces or any like onion mixture like we're doing today. So I highly recommend you. I mean, they're a little more pricey. They're usually a couple, maybe they're like $4 or $5. I happen to buy mine as a 2-pack at Costco today, so yay Costco. But they can be a little pricey, but I really recommend giving them a try because they stay in the fridge. You can use a little bit. I bought anchovy paste like that once. I mean, I don't personally love anchovies, but I wanted to recreate a dish, and it worked out beautifully. And I did not want a whole bag of anchovies. Okay, Worcestershire. You're going to put in about a tablespoon. You're going to lower the heat down, and then you're going to add in about, let's just say like 3/4 of a cup of your chicken stock. Like so. That's about a cup. Let's see what it looks like. I'm going to pour it in. No, I'm not going to use all of it. So I'm going to pour that in, and I'm literally going to let this just cook down. It's on like medium low now. I'm going to let it cook down until it's thick. You don't want it to be juicy. You want it to be like a thick paste. And what this is going to do is we're going to mix this. We're going to cool this down, and we're going to mix it in with our meat, and it's going to make the meat delicious. As always, make sure you're salting, you're peppering, you're seasoning. I think I'm feeling herbalicious, so I'm gonna look for some herbs to add. Let's see what I got. I don't have much. I don't know where they all are. But you can add thyme, you can add parsley, you can have a little dried basil, I'm sure would be delicious. Oh, there's some parsley right there. Okay, so you could just add a little seasonings to this, and it would really kind of, mix it good. Okay, so just gonna let that cook down a little bit. That could stay on low. Now, we are almost done, if you can believe that. And then you just get to let it sit. I'm just pulling out a bowl. You just get to let this sit until you're ready to cook it. Now the cook time takes a little long because you want your meat to cook, and we're going to be adding some eggs to this as well. So you need about a good hour and 15 minutes to cook. But this is a perfect kind of meal that you could prep, make, put in your fridge, and when you get home with the kids or you get home from work, you just quickly heat up your oven, pop it in, and then do what you got to do. Shower, homework, make phone calls, check your emails, whatever you got to do, and then the next thing you know, dinner's ready. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to take this turkey, Now I bought 3 pounds of ground turkey. You could do this as a big loaf. You can do it small. You can do it with just 1 pound, right? I have this here. I'm going to add about a cup of these oats right now. Let me see where my little cup is. And again, this could be panko, this could be breadcrumbs, this could be homemade breadcrumbs if you are so inspired to do that. You can just do it with like saltine crackers would be delicious. I really don't think graham crackers would work in this, but I bet you crushed up Ritz crackers would be delicious. If you don't have breadcrumbs, the reason I stumbled upon, actually this is a funny story, the reason I stumbled upon using oats is because I did not have breadcrumbs. I was making this dish, I was like home, I'm gonna do 3 eggs. I was making this dish, I was home, I was about ready to do it, the baby was sleeping, I couldn't leave, and I was like, wait a second, breadcrumbs, what am I supposed to do? And that's where I came up with this oats idea, and it works. It totally works, and I love it. So 3 eggs, your meat, salt and pepper. You're just gonna salt the crap out of it. Let's just be honest. Is that a technical food term? Salt the crap out of it? Not sure. Okay, and some pepper, and let's see. Now comes my favorite part. Sun-dried tomatoes. Okay, I love this part so much. I love adding sun-dried tomatoes. Kid number 1, she does not love it, but whatever, we make her pick around it. What you're going to do is you're going to take your sun-dried tomatoes and, hold on, you're just going to cut them into little bits. Not too little. I mean, like I've got a chop like this, right? And you just throw those bad boys right into the meatloaf. You can add so many different kinds of vegetables into this meatloaf that would be absolutely delicious. You can add mushrooms. You could add feta cheese if you wanted. You can add, well, we have onions. You can add peppers, although those would be crunchy, so you'd want to be careful with what you're adding in that if you're adding peppers, but mushrooms would be absolutely delicious. You could add regular tomatoes as well if you don't have sun-dried tomatoes. I've done that. If you want, you could add olives. Like, this is the beauty of having a meatloaf. Spinach would be amazing. Sorry, I just thought about spinach. I've actually never tried it with spinach. I wonder if I should do it now. Maybe I will. I don't know. No, I'm going to stick. I have a lot of sun-dried tomatoes here, so I'm going to stick with my sun-dried tomatoes. But you can add spinach. I really want to do one with mushrooms because my family loves mushrooms, and I feel like that would be a really fun add-in to this. I actually discovered about doing add-ins when I was at Whole Foods. This is like years ago, and they have like a meatloaf bar where you can get all the different kinds of meatloaf, like all the different kinds of meats, and you can get all the different kinds of toppings that you can put in. Caramelized onions, I think was one. Different kinds of cheeses. Lots of different kinds of things. So be creative and have fun with it. I'm just going to kind of mix this egg up in here, and then I'm just going to mix up all of this meat. And then while I turned this off, that looks like it's nice and cooked. I'm going to mix all of this in, and then I'm going to add that onion and tomato mixture to this. I'm just going to put it on a sheet pan, flatten it out. You can make it thick, you can make it thin and long, however you want, and just, keep in mind that if you make it in a big fat blob, you're gonna have to cook it for a longer time. So kind of like spread it out, and you just cook that thing for like an hour. Keep your eye on it, hour and 15 minutes. You can use a meat thermometer to make sure it's cooked through, and you are gonna love it. Make sure that if you want to put a topping, you put the topping on before you start cooking it, and if you have leftover topping, you kind of baste it if you want. And if you're just looking for simplistic, then don't even use a topping. Okay, this looks fantastic. The reason this is very hot, I'm actually going to let it cool, and the reason you want to let it cool, and this is an important step, is you did put eggs in here. You don't want to cook those. They'd be kind of gross to have like egg chunks. All right. So that's it. I hope you give this meatloaf a try. It's super versatile, super easy. Gosh, I think we did this in like 10 minutes. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, guys.